Hello, friends, and welcome to Noble Literature Classes. In this lecture, we are going to start with William Wordsworth and his preface to the Lyrical Ballads. अब वर्ड्सवर्थ नहीं चाहते थे कभी भी कि आई विल राइट समथिंग सो फिलोसॉफिकल कि मैं क्यों डिफाइन करूँ कि किस तरह से पोइट्री लिखते हैं एंड ऑल बिकॉज ही वॉज ऑलवेज अ ट्रू पोइट. ही वॉज नेवर फोकस्ड ऑन द रूल्स ऑफ द राइटिंग और एनी ऑफ दैट, बट स्टिल he had to defend this work because their lyrical ballads it received a huge criticism in those days. मतलब उन्होंने सारे नियो क्लासिकल रूल्स को ब्रेक करके इसको लिखा था. दे चोज सो ऑर्डिनरी characters, the language was so common, there was no hi-fi phenomenas or hi-fi languages used. Therefore लोगों ने कहा कि why should we appreciate your work, it is so simple. तो उस सिंप्लिसिटी को स्पेशल दिखाने के लिए दे हैड टू राइट दिस प्रीफेस. सो कोलरिज गिव दिस आइडिया टू राइट दिस प्रीफेस, ऑल्दो ही हैड टू राइट इट हिमसेल्फ बट ही कुड नॉट कंप्लीट इट बिकॉज एज वी नो ही वॉज much indulged in the alcohol and the opium in those days, and he could never complete his works on time, although he was a great man, and we'll study about him in the next lecture. So William Wordsworth, he wrote this preface, and in this he will redefine the nature and the functions of both the poetry and the poet. We'll also do Keats' negative capability and egotistical sublime, which will talk about the disadvantages of the Romantic age. Now, William Wordsworth, although he studied at Cambridge University, but he never looked like an academic or never behaved like one. Even, in fact, he never wanted to be seen as an academic. He wanted to be seen as the pursuer of freedom, free ideas, free philosophies. Therefore, he always stayed in the countryside, in the Lake District, and he wrote poems on the rustic topics. Let us see how he defines the nature of poetry. Well, Wordsworth believed that poetry should be able to teach and delight, but the main focus of poetry should not be on teaching, but it should be on delighting people. And that delightment will come only when a poet is able to truly express himself. Therefore, Wordsworth always preferred the expressive view of poetry over the pragmatic or the didactic view. And he says, this is the famous expression, that poetry is the spontaneous overflow of powerful feelings. He simply means that a poet should be able to express his mood, his emotions, and perceptions very clearly. Now, Wordsworth also rejected the Aristotle's opinion that the plot should come before character, like plot should be more important than character. Because for Wordsworth, character always had the more importance than the plot of a story. Now, Wordsworth also rejected the artificial or the neoclassical lifestyle. He was against all the concepts of poeticism in those days, which required a poet to write in a certain decorum or follow certain rules, in which the language used to be some high kind of language or using some other forms of literary forms, metaphors, similes, and all that. He was against that because he advocated a simple and a direct language to be written by the poet, which could be understood by the even by the common man. He called this language the real language of men. Now, a good example to explain all these rules would be his narrative poem Harry Gill and Goody Blake. Harry Gill and Goody Blake is a wonderful example which can even be read by school children, and they will understand it because the language is very simple to understand, and they will be able to feel the feelings of those characters. And he has focused mostly on the characters, although there's a plot also which is involved. Harry Gill is a big farmer and he banishes this Goody Blake. She is his worker, an old lady, and he banishes her from his estate because she is found in possession of some property, in some possession of some land. And in those days, these servants or these workers, it was a crime for them to own a land in those days. So therefore he banishes her and she curses him in return that he will never feel warm his life. So he always remains sick his entire life, and throughout the poem we are constantly reminded the characters of Goody Blake and Harry Gill. So that is the beauty of this poem, and I will leave a link in the description that you can read. So you have to understand it कि वर्ड्सवर्थ ने ये सब इसलिए कॉपी नहीं किया कि उसको he liked that countryside or those people so much, मतलब he did like them but he did not copy them just for this reason. The main reason was कि वहाँ पे जाके उसको ये realize हुआ that these people also have the same feelings which the high class people or the kings have. So to find that universal truth, the universal feelings in people, he had to copy that lifestyle. That is the main reason behind his philosophy. So, anyways, he was still having this mimetic element in himself as he was still copying something. Now, he also believed in Kant's subjective universality, and he thought that these truths that I am finding today, these are universal, these feelings, they are universal, they are with everybody. So, in a way, he gave a poetic version of Kant's subjective universality to us. Now we move on to the vision of the poet according to Wordsworth. अब नियो क्लासिकल क्रिटिसिज्म में हमने पढ़ा था दैट अ पोइट और अ पोइट्री इट शुड एक्ट लाइक द टच स्टोन ऑफ आर्ट, मतलब कि दे आर डिफरेंट देन द अदर्स. मतलब लोगों को उनके वर्क्स पढ़ के पता लगना चाहिए कि एक अच्छा वर्क किसे कहते हैं. बट वर्ड्सवर्थ वॉज डिफरेंट. ही सेड दैट somebody, especially a poet, he should never confuse himself with a sense of entitlement. मतलब उसे कभी नहीं लगना चाहिए कि वो कुछ अलग है बाकियों से. He should always try to mix with common people and he should just be a man speaking to other men. For Wordsworth there was no coterie of poets. मतलब कोई ग्रुप नहीं था पोइट्स का, कोई टोली एग्जिस्ट नहीं करती थी पोइट्स की. A poet will only be different in the degree of enlightenment that he has, and he will define that degree now. He says that a poet will have an organic and comprehensible soul than others. मतलब वो सबसे ज़्यादा समझदार इंसान होगा और वो बेसिक चीज़ों को ज़्यादा अच्छे से समझेगा बजाय के दूसरे लोगों के. Then he says that the poet will have abundant memories to get inspired from. मतलब पोइट के पास बहुत सारी मेमोरीज होंगी जिनको वो कभी भी जाके और उसी इंटेंशन के साथ वो उनको फील कर सकता है और उनको याद करते करते और उनके अंदर फिर से जी सकता है. और अगर उसके पास वो मेमोरीज नहीं भी होंगी देन स्टिल ही विल बी एबल टू क्रिएट दोज मेमोरीज बाय हिमसेल्फ. सो देयरफॉर अ पोएट विल always need a very little stimulation to be inspired, and therefore he will always enjoy his own company. Then the third thing is he wants the poet to appreciate the naked or the native dignity of man. He meant के चाहे राजा हो चाहे एक सेवक हो लेकिन दोनों के अंदर ही डिग्निटी होती है और जब उसको हर्ट किया जाता है तो दोनों को सेम इंटेंशन के साथ ही फील होता है. So that universal dignity he is talking about as the naked and the native dignity of men. And he says that this is indifferent and universal in everybody. Next thing he says that a poet is not like scientists who are always following search of some truth कि यार कोई fact मिल जाए. They are always seeking something abstract which they are not aware of till now. He says that a poet is always aware of the truth and he considers truth as his lifelong companion. मतलब वो समझता है कि हर चीज़ के अंदर सच्चाई छुपी है, unlike a scientist who always keeps finding this truth and never finds him. So, Wordsworth says that the poet and the poetry, they have a very important role to play in the society. What is that? First of all, he warns against the effects, the bad effects of urbanization and industrialization in our society. He says कि जब लोग 9 to 5 या मॉर्निंग से इवनिंग तक गधों की तरह काम करेंगे, when they will just work miserably, then they will reach that stage of emotional and spiritual deadness. He called that stage as savage torpor. Savage का मीनिंग देखोगे डिक्शनरी में, it means cruel and torpor means inactive. तो cruel inactiveness in us because of urbanization. And he says then people will go for cravings after extraordinary incidents. These are the exact same words from his article. And it will also lead to a degrading thirst after outrageous stimulants. A degrading thirst means लोगों की इच्छा शक्ति ही नहीं रहेगी कुछ नया सुनने की, कुछ नया करने की, कुछ नया देखने की. After this outrageous stimulants. Now if you remember lecture 4, Longinus also had the same thoughts about materialism and hedonism. And a few examples we can take here, like MTV and the news channels, they are constantly bombarding us with sensationalism, sensational news, sensational music, and it makes our senses dead, actually. So Wordsworth says that only poets can revive this ability in us, the childlike wonder we used to have when we were kids, when we could feel delight in the real nature and even we could enjoy while listening to our own heartbeat. So he wants to revive that lost ability, and he says that only poets can do that. And here he is kind of promoting an aristocracy of sensibility, but still it is a truth. So although it's ironic, but still it is true. So, John Keats gives us a few drawbacks about this romanticism, and in his letters to his father and to his cousins, we find an interesting critique of Wordsworth. He gives us these two abilities, negative capability and egotistical sublime. He says that somebody who will possess this negative capability, he will be able to enter the life of other people and see the world from their perspective. Whereas somebody who has got this egotistical sublime will be too obsessed with his own personality, his own ego, and he will never be able to enter others' lives and see the world from their angle. So he praises Shakespeare for that, because in Shakespeare's works you will never find any hint of his own life or his own perspective. He has completely been able to enter other people and create characters. But Wordsworth and Keats says that they do not have this negative capability. In fact, they have this egotistical sublime. Now, Coleridge also talks about this thing when he says that Wordsworth is a spectator from outside, that Wordsworth had sympathy, although he did not have empathy. And Keats, well, he appreciates romanticism, but he does not appreciate too much of it. And the new critics will later come in and they will overrule the romantics based on Keats' negative capability. So, friends, this was all about William Wordsworth and his preface to the lyrical ballads. I hope you liked this video. If you do leave a thumbs up. And if you have any questions or comments, or if you did not understand something, do ask your question in the comments down below. I will try to answer it as soon as possible. Thank you and have a very nice day.